Hey, good afternoon. We will get started in about 3 minutes. Hey, good afternoon. We're going to get started at 12:03 just to give folks an opportunity to join and get settled in. Good afternoon. We are going to get started in just a minute to give folks a little bit more time to join. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We are going to go ahead and get started. Before going forward, I just want to make a quick note. We are recording this info session today. This is so that folks who are not able to join one of the info sessions have access to the information, and also so that folks who do join today can review it again if needed. This is the info session for the 2025 capital repair and improvements for Seattle shelters serving youth and/or young adults RFP. And today is May 21st, 2025. My name is Eli Griffin. I am a procurement coordinator here at KCRHA, and I am the lead for this procurement process. I'm going to pass it over to Nicole Chu just for a quick second so she can introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Nicole Chu, she, hers pronouns, and I'm the new Deputy Chief Program Officer here at KCRJ. Thanks for being here today.
And then I'll pass it to my colleague, Joe, really quick to introduce herself.
Thanks, Eli. Good to see you all. My name is Joe Bechtold, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm on our procurement team, and I'm supporting Eli today. So thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you all so much for being here today. And thank you to Nicole and to Nicole and Joe, excuse me, for your help today. Today we are going to briefly review how the procurement process flows here at KCRHA. Review the funding for this particular funding opportunity, also the timeline, scope of work, contracting and compliance requirements, and rating and scoring for this funding opportunity. We'll do a quick introduction to Salesforce and then open it up for a Q&A at the end. So here at KCRHA, we provide notice of funding availability before we start a procurement process. And this NOFA is to let interested agencies know that we are going to have funding available shortly. It often includes information such as when the funding process is expected to happen, the type of procurement process that is expected to be used, when we estimate it to open, and how much funding may become available. The formal process is then posted. That procurement process could be a request for proposals, request for qualifications, and request for quotations for just a couple of examples. And that includes the actual funding opportunity, along with instructions and details on how to apply and all requirements for that process. We then host an info session such as today, which allows agencies and applicants to ask any questions that they may have about that funding opportunity. And we continue answering questions via email until the last day for questions. At that point, we no longer have communication about the procurement process so that agencies all have the same information and can focus on applying for that funding opportunity. And I'll go into a little further detail about the last day for questions for this particular RFP in just a little bit. Once an agency is awarded, they will then be handed off to our contracts team for contract negotiations and signing. They will then be assigned a program monitor from our programs team, and that person will be their primary contact who will provide technical assistance and contract monitoring and is really there to support the agency. If the funding process includes the homeless management information system, that agency will also be connected to community impact for HMIS and HMIS training. And then, of course, there is the compliance team, which does auditing towards the end of that contract lifecycle. For this particular funding process, the capital repair and improvements for Seattle shelters serving youth and or young adults, the city of Seattle has appropriated $1.85 million for capital repairs and or improvements to existing shelters serving youth and or young adults. We expect to award at minimum 1 and up to 4 agencies, and funds must be expended by December 31st, 2026. The fund source is City of Seattle General Fund, and the total is $1,850,000 that is available. The timeline for this process includes it being released on May 14th. There are 2 information sessions. There is today, May 21st, and May 23rd, which is this Friday. Both are at noon. The last day to ask questions about this RFP is June 16th, 2025, with a cutoff time of 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This is the last point at which agencies can email us and ask any questions. Any information that we give out, we post on our Funding Opportunities webpage in a Q&A document to ensure all agencies have access to the same information. And we do at least a week with no extra information, so all agencies have access to the same information. The application deadline is then June 23rd at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard. We expect to send out denial notifications the week of July 28th. Agencies that are denied then have 5 business days to appeal. And then we expect to send out award notifications the week of August 4th, 2025, with a goal contract start date of September 1st, 2025. For the scope of work for this funding opportunity, we are looking to fund proposals that demonstrate the need for capital improvements to existing facilities to improve the well-being of youth and or young adults that are shelter residents. Proposals must include timelines to expend all funds prior to December 31st, 2026. And proposals must be a one-time expense that will not result in a need for additional ongoing operating funds. Eligible enhancements under this grant include projects that support confidentiality, increase privacy, expand capacity, or modernize the facility. And potential projects may encompass enhancements designed to create a welcoming and restorative environment for youth and or young adults accessing shelter services. Applicants must provide a work plan that defines goals and objectives of the proposed improvements and or repairs, what agencies will complete the steps of the project, or how contractors for the project will be identified, any potential permitting or zoning issues and possible solutions, and if there is displacement of shelter residents expected, a description of what steps will be implemented to minimize displacement and disruption. Applicants must also include a subcontractor vendor evaluation, including how your agency will ensure construction quality standards, price and cost structure, finance stability, licensure bonding, and compliance with any pertinent prevailing wage state. And please note that agencies must plan on regular on-site and or virtual visits with KCRJ staff or representatives to demonstrate progress and project completion if awarded. Applicants must also provide a timeline with key milestones and deliverables throughout the project and describe methods and frequency of progress reporting to stakeholders and or funders. The timeline must also include the estimated date when 25% and 75% of the total funds available will be expended, and then when 100% of the total funds available, and also please note, 100% of total funds available must be expended by December 31st, 2026. Proposals must incorporate integration of trauma-informed, healing-centered, and harm reduction design principles to support the creation of a healthy, supportive environment for youth and or young adults. Strategies for incorporating energy efficiency and energy-saving measures, and design elements that support culturally responsive services where applicable. Examples of proposed projects include, but are not limited to, community room additions or remodels, room additions or remodels for private or confidential conversations, kitchen, bathroom, or laundry room remodel, roofing replacement, foundation repairs, replacing outdated plumbing, upgrading electrical wiring, and upgrading windows within the structure. For applicant requirements, eligible applicants must meet the following criteria. They must be a nonprofit, faith-based, tribe, or tribal organization providing shelter services to youth and or young adults in Seattle, Washington. They must serve youth ages 12 to 17 and or young adults ages 18 to 24 experiencing homelessness, and applicants do not need to exclusively serve youth and or young adult populations. If KCRHA contracts with the agency, the organization must be in good standing. The site is required to be within Seattle, Washington. It must be a site-based shelter program that is intended to provide a safe, sanitary, accessible, and suitable environment for youth and or young adults experiencing homelessness. And eligible shelter programs can include, but are not limited to, day shelter, 24-hour congregate shelter, 24-hour non-congregate shelter, overnight only congregate shelter, and overnight only non-congregate shelter. Also, agencies must be able to demonstrate site control and a firm organizational commitment to provide continued services at the improved property for a minimum of 5 years after completion of the capital improvements. Applicants must also include stakeholder engagement as part of this process, and applicants must provide at least one opportunity for youth and young adult stakeholders to offer input on proposed repairs or improvements prior to starting the project, and then one feedback opportunity post-construction to assess their satisfaction. Stakeholder engagement methods may include any of the following, such as interviews, surveys, and focus groups. Agencies must provide a detailed budget estimating the financial support required and include a narrative breakdown of costs for each major component of the project. Please note within Salesforce, repairs should be listed under repairs and maintenance supplies, and then capital costs should be listed under other miscellaneous expenses with a notation such as with capital costs in dash and then the cost item title. Allowable capital costs and expenditures refer to non-recurring durable investments in property, facilities, or equipment that extend the life or functionality of a physical asset. For shelter or housing facilities serving youth and or young adults, allowable capital costs may include any repairs, renovations, or improvements that are permanent in nature and directly related to the use and habitability of the space. For allowable costs, please review the RFP for a much more detailed list of appropriate capital expenditure examples, including building repairs and improvements, interior renovations, energy efficiency and infrastructure, site improvements, and capital equipment. Unallowable costs include capital acquisition, operating expenses, furnishings not permanently affixed, program supplies or technology, routine maintenance, administrative overhead unrelated to the project, new construction and land purchases, staff salaries and wages, staff fringe benefits, and travel. Applicants must agree to the following contracting requirements, including our minimum eligibility requirements, which I will discuss further in just a second, and a financial review. KCRHA will collaboratively establish and evaluate performance metrics with each grantee, which will be incorporated into each project service agreement, PSA, or contract. All funded agencies sorry, let me restart. Agencies must have a good neighbor agreement and a safety plan for fires and other relevant emergencies. Some projects may require compliance with prevailing wage and competitive bidding laws. Please refer to the RFP for full details, but really want to highlight that some projects may qualify as a public work or meet other criteria requiring prevailing wages, and may be subject to RCW 39.12. So please review the RFP for further details, as well as the Washington State Department of Labor and Industries website for more details about requiring prevailing wages. As mentioned, agencies must undergo a financial review. So as part of the application, agencies must provide current fiscal year's financial statements, which include balance sheet, income statement, and statement of cash flows, most recent audit reports, and then most recent fiscal year ending Form 990. Agencies must also submit minimum eligibility documents. There is a link on this slide deck that includes further guidance, but agencies must submit at least one of certificate of incorporation, federal state registry listing, or authorizing documents, depending on the agency type. Applicants must also submit certificate of existence, employer identification number registration confirmation from the IRS, copy of all relevant business licenses, KCRJ certification of non-debarment and suspension, and then proof of active system award management registration and unique identity number. Based off of the scope of work, agencies must fill out the application that is based off that scope of work, and will be rated out of 100 points for the following criteria. Project details, which is for information purposes only, and it will not be rated. Capital repairs work plan, which is a total of 50 points. Partnerships, which is a total of 10 points. Racial equity and social justice, which is a total of 20 points. Fiscal management, which is a total of 10 points. And budget, which is a total of 10 points. Please note that any agencies that are scored less than 70 out of 100 possible points will not be considered, will not be eligible for consideration. All providers and applicants must register and create an account within Salesforce to apply for this funding opportunity. Salesforce is a grants and contract management system, which we use for contracting, invoicing, reporting, and RFP applications. If you already have a Salesforce login, you'll be able to log in as you do usually. If this is your first time using Salesforce after our switch to Flux, and you had a Flux account, you will have a Salesforce account, but you will need to reset your password. If you are a new agency that has never applied for a funding opportunity with KCRHA before, you will need to create a Salesforce account. Once you click on the portal for KCRHA, you will select register a new agency and enter in your unique entity ID number. If there is a duplicate found, that means you already have an account. And if you don't, you will go through the registration process from there. Once you have logged in order to select this funding opportunity, go to My Applications at the top of the screen, select Apply for New Funding Opportunity, and then select the specific funding opportunity you want to apply for. Be sure to carefully review the names to select the correct one and apply for the funding opportunity you want. I am going to quickly change screens so I can switch over to showing you what that Salesforce application will look like. Please note I mentioned that Salesforce agency portal earlier. You can find it on this slide deck, which is also this is also available on our Funding Opportunities website, and we will post this slide deck with all these links on it. This portal link is also included at the very bottom of the RFP document itself. So one quick moment while I switch over to Salesforce. All right, so once you have logged in and selected the capital repair and improvements for Seattle shelters serving YYA RFP, you will see an application very similar to what we are seeing now. Your screen will look slightly different compared to mine, as you'll be seeing it from the agency point of view. First thing you'll see is submission instructions, which includes instructions how to apply, application due date, and everything that we require for a full and complete application, as well as instructions for the appeal process. Once you are done with the section, click the Save and Renew section, but you are also able to select down the side to move through the application. You will see, as I mentioned earlier, we are scoring agencies on project we're not scoring on project details, but scoring on capital repairs work plan, partnerships, racial equity and social justice, fiscal management, and budget. And so all of those can be selected, and you can submit your answers. Please note that the rating criteria is available after each question, so you can see what we are looking for each question. And all of these questions are based off of the scope of work I discussed earlier. One thing I want to raise up is for fiscal management. If you have a fiscal sponsor, please provide a signed letter of agreement, and you are able to upload that here. And as mentioned earlier, applicants must provide documentation to prove site's existence and viability for service provision for a minimum of 5 years. If you are uploading any file to one of these widgets, you can only upload a single file. So if you are providing documentation that is multiple files, please merge them into a single PDF and upload that. For budget, you will be able to provide your federally approved indirect rate if that applies to you. You will be able to upload your budget narrative, and then below is where you will create your budget. Once you're done with that, you will then do conflict of interest. Please note you can find the certification of conflict of interest at this link right here. Please do not use your agency's conflict of interest certification if you have a template. We ask that you use KCRHA's template, which can be found here. If your agency does have a potential conflict of interest to disclose, that disclosure form is linked here at the bottom. And this is only if you do have a potential conflict of interest. And then finally, you are able to upload your financial and minimum eligibility documents here. Please note again, if you have multiple documents, merge them into a single PDF and upload the file. You can also find guidance on minimum eligibility at this link here as well. Let me go back to the slide deck. Once you have filled out everything in Salesforce, at the bottom of a screen, you will see a button appear that will let you submit that application. If you have any questions that are specific to the RFP, please email the procurement team at rfp@kcrha.org. Please do not reach out to any other staff here at KCRHA about this funding opportunity. because we want to make sure this is a fair process and that all agencies receive the same information, and also to ensure that you get the information as quickly as possible. And then if you have an issue within Salesforce itself, if you have a bug or a glitch, please submit a ticket to our Salesforce team at this link here, and they will respond within 24 to 48 hours. You can also reach out to our procurement team as well, and we will connect you with that team. For more information, you can go to our funding opportunity webpage. That is where we post notice of funding availability and live funding opportunities. This is also where we will post the recording for this information session, the slide deck, and then we will also post a question and answers document. So any question we receive about this funding opportunity, we will post along with our answer to it. And then if you have more questions about Salesforce, you can go to our grants management resources webpage, which includes recorded Salesforce training, as well as a step-by-step system guide that will walk you through on how to apply for an RFP, how to submit an invoice, and so on. And with that, I will open it up to questions. As mentioned, Nicole Chu is our deputy CPO is here to also support answering programmatic questions about this as well. You can raise your hand or put it in the Q&A. Oh, Joanna, I see you talking. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I couldn't find my mute. Hi, everybody. Just a couple of questions, one on timing. So I heard very, maybe deliberately, like the money must be expended by December 31st, 2026. We need to see a timeline of 25, 50, 75% spent. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is if the entire project needs to be complete in terms of like the construction work and all the closeout by December 2026, or whether we need to spend the money by 2026. And if there's no sort of retained holdback for delivery of certain items that are post-construction completion, then it may affect how we structure our timeline and the project.
Let me pull up the language specifically in the RFP. And while I do that, Nicole, do you have any guidance on that?
Hi, if Joanna, I just want to make sure I understand the question correctly. You said for the budget, it must be expended by 2026. And then
yeah, maybe I can give an example, Nicole.
Yeah, I missed the first part. Yes.
Yeah, let me just give an example. So so we have a construction scope of $10 million, just throwing easy numbers out. And and we have $1 million from your program, for example. And we start, we have a construction contract and we start paying the contractor, and the work starts, just say in March of 2026. And we pay, we paid some of the first invoices to the contractor with KCRHA funds, so that they are all expended by, say, August of 2026. But the full construction contract, say it takes a year, so it doesn't truly finish until March of 2027. Is that a problem? That's, I guess, a possible scenario that I just want to throw out there.
And this is the part where we would have to take it back to our funder, the city, for clarification, because based on our understandings that all expenditure and project needs to be complete by 2026. But this is a good scenario, Joanna, and that will be, let us check back with our funder to see if that's allowable, like as long as our portion is expended by 2026. But my initial thought around that is that how will then we report back when the program is complete, considering that it will be complete in 2027. And so to me, that's the matter of reporting. So we'll have to check back with the city. Can we loop back with you on that, Joanna?
Absolutely. And maybe kind of if you're checking with the city anyway, just, ask about the contracting documents, for example, would there be a deed of trust and a covenant and that sort of thing that the city typically does, or will it just be the grant agreement? Yeah, unless you already know that answer.
No, we'll check back and just kind of a little bit of context to this. Is our first time doing capital projects, and so we not expert in this space, and so yes. So thank you for the information. We'll look back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then we will once we get that response, we will post it in that Q&A document, which will be uploaded on our Funding Opportunities webpage. And anytime we make an update, we post the date and try to make it very clear what additions have been made.
Excellent, thanks.
All right, I think I saw somebody typing in the chat. Is there another question? Thank you. All right. Oh, yep, go ahead.
I read the whole thing in advance. I wrote all these questions down. Sorry. There's a statement about needing the financial stability bonding licensure. It's kind of all strung together. I wasn't sure if those were like commas in between there and if they're referring to the construction contractor in that sense, or if you're talking about the agency, having its licensure showing financial stability, etc. And if you're referring to the contractor, maybe a little bit more specificity as to what the construction contractor, a little more specificity on that.
Great. We will respond in further detail in writing in that Q&A document. I think it is a good question. I'll make sure we'll have a thorough response for you on that one.
Okay. And if nobody else has more questions, I have more.
Yeah, short answer, the financial stability licensure bonding is about subcontractor and vendors, but we'll get some clearer language on that.
Okay, thank you. I didn't see, in terms of allowable costs, I didn't see soft costs for like your architect and things like that. Maybe construction insurance, things that you need to support the repairs eligible.
We do have some in allowable is construction costs, including subcontractor costs. However, that doesn't quite meet your ask. So let me also bring that back and get that answered for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Unless Nicole, let me check in. Do you have I want to make sure.
I don't, but Joanna, my advice for that is because this is actually part of your project. That's the cost, right? So I would build that in as the cost. It may not be, again, we can't anticipate or know what the individual projects would be. And so again, there could be 20 other things that we us and our funder haven't considered. So I would just build that in there and then we'll review it, the budget, and ask our funder appropriate questions in terms of allowables.
Sounds good. Thank you. I guess I'm not looking at the chat. I don't know if somebody else is already asking a question.
Nope, you are good if you have more questions.
Okay. So I was I read through the different types of shelter, and then there was a category other, and I guess I'm wondering, are there any length of stay limitations or anything like that as part of your RFP and a part of what an eligible program or project is?
We do not have limitations in the RFP. Nicole, is there anything that you would like to add for that?
No, again, you guys define what that is because that's your service. And so again, as long as you meet the definition that's listed there.
Okay. Okay, and I think my last question has to do with, and this might also be a City of Seattle question, just the mechanics of reimbursement, as and I did see on Salesforce, there was a little tab that said invoices, but so I don't know whether, it's monthly, we upload invoices, and then there would be a, a funding, and to the agency, and then the agency can then pay the vendors. I know some cases with the state, with commerce, sometimes they require that you show evidence of prepayment and then get reimbursed. But of course, that's hard when it's construction because those are big invoices and they're hard to pay out of pocket. So I just wanted to check and see mechanically how the money would plan to flow.
Yeah, I will check with our finance team.
And actually, I could
oh,
take a step at that,
go for it,
Eli.
Nicole.
And so we're a reimbursable contract system. And so it would be that you invoice us on a monthly, and we typically pay those invoices pretty quickly, and you'll have to submit your general ledger along with invoices.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Do you have any other questions?
Oh, I have one more.
Okay.
Which I think everybody will appreciate. Okay, so you have 1.8 something million. If I guess, if our gap is as big as the total amount available, and we ask for, is it an all or nothing where you say, well, we have 4 great organizations here and we want to split it, or we can't give it all to this one, and your gap looks like it's the whole thing. So I mean, will you award less if we ask for more, or will you award nothing if we ask for too much?
There is a potential we may, it depends on how agencies are rated and scored by raters. And so depending on what each agency ask is, we may ask a lesser scored agency if they would be able to accept a smaller award, depending on how higher ranking applications are. And then there would be some contract negotiation with that. So it is not all or nothing, but there is a potential of receiving less. It depends on, again, how agencies are rated and scored and what each individual agency asks for as well.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Yeah. All right. If there aren't any other questions, I will end this session today. Please note we have one on Friday. So if you have any other questions, feel free to attend then. And you can always email rfp@kcrha.org as well. And thank you all for attending. Thank you for great questions and being super prepared. That's always wonderful to have. So thank you all, and thank you for all that you do, and talk to you all later.